Good afternoon, and welcome to the Connect Pitch meeting. I appreciate the time you've taken to be part of this. I know we're all busy, so let's jump straight into it. The social housing industry is often referred to as housing commission. Housing is generally both a mix of investor-supplied housing with incentives for rental shortfalls to government or not-for-profit owned housing. Clients within the social housing industry come from a variety of backgrounds and challenges. However, all of them require some level of support, some for a short period of time, others for the rest of their lives. To give you a rundown of the industry, here's a quick Porter's 5 Forces model of how it works. So there are high barriers to entering the industry, mainly due to the capital costs of either purchasing homes or to fund that investor rental shortfall. There are very few substitutes, as government provide most of the funding in the social housing industry. There are very few substitutes that low-income earners can actually move to. Customers or tenants generally have low power. They are very rarely given the ability to select which provider they'd like to be housed with. Suppliers, mainly being the government funding departments, have high supply power with the ability to withdraw funding, change funding agreements. It makes it a very tumultuous industry to be working within. Mangrove Housing specifically, though, being a community housing provider, provide a range of different housing programs from transitional housing, approximately 2 years within a home, to lifetime housing, really. Provide these services to tenants all around the country. Why does Mangrove Housing have to innovate, though? It isn't easy to stand out within a particular industry. Mangrove Housing's been around since '93, which gives it that required experience to garner trust. But now it just needs to use that expertise to create a program that not only increases the speed and efficiency with how the team operate, but how they also work with the vulnerable client base. The service delivery team specifically, though, work from 3 different offices. They have to have a close working relationship, especially with the finance department and other stakeholders and support services. They're required to provide a case management approach to tenants, which requires knowing a lot of information about a lot of different available options for tenants. And they have to work within a range of different housing programs and the KPIs that are associated with that. So let's talk about Connect and what is it? Well, there are 2 aspects to it. The first being the networking side of it. The purpose of the networking side, and for mental visualization purposes, think Facebook really, is to build personal and professional relationships. Connect isn't looking to replace Facebook or other social media, but to provide that professional and personal networking within a work environment to create those relationships. Now, an outcome that we're hoping to achieve, and we'll talk more about benefits later, is to have less formal emails and formal in communication, which should create a faster response time. And that's only going to have greater outcomes for team members internally, but also our clientele. We're also looking at a collaboration side of things. So a part of that same Connect platform based on a project management system so that team members can work together on projects. We'll look to make it as distraction-free as possible. We can't stop phone calls and emails coming through, but we can do what we can to reduce the amount of distractions we face in the daily work environment. We're also looking for integration with Microsoft applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, just to make that collaboration easier. And for both the networking and collaboration side of things, we're looking at easy to use and basic visual, clutter-free, simple look to make it easier for team members to use. Core business drivers, we're looking at industry leadership. So it's an important consideration for all funders that they're funding organizations that have good branding and stakeholder reach. By being technologically advanced and ahead of the industry, it puts Mangrove Housing in a position of leadership. Employee engagement. By being a client and individual-focused organization, we have to make sure we're always looking to engage and consider the well-being of our employees. And client-centric, again, because we're that client-facing organization, it's critical that the client is the focus of all our decisions and projects. Expected benefits. So I think we can all appreciate the expected benefits of being better psychological well-being, which can lead to increased job performance and increased productivity. Having a collaborative and network and more personal relationships, creates more opportunities for creativity and the transfer of knowledge. And by increasing the amount of best friends at work, organizations such as Mangrove Housing could realize fewer safety incidences, more engaged customers, and higher profits. Our target audience is quite straightforward. It's for all members of the company, though specifically the service delivery team. Connect. So now that I've talked your ear off about what it is, how it's going to work, let's look more at the prototype and design, and we'll get into some more of the nitty-gritty detail. The first thing you're going to see once you log in is the news feed. We've modeled it similar to what you'd see on Facebook and other social media sites. And that's for that visual simplicity and for team members, as most would have interacted with a social media site, so there are no steep learning curves. What we see in this screen is a team member posting a photo from a conference and another commenting with the ability to like, comment, or share. There's also the option to connect with that team member, which is essentially a chat option that I'll discuss a little bit later. Now, I'm sure one of the first questions you have is, what about privacy and information sharing policies? These would all have to be updated in line with this platform. This information policy would have very specific rules about what information can and cannot be shared, such as not sharing private and confidential client information, but being able to share what you've learned at a conference or just some fun facts that you've learned recently. Next, we have, so to filter down, we've got organization. Next is individual groups and departments. So you can create groups from social groups to service delivery team to finance team departments, whatever you'd like. And it's based on a similar view. So the screen on the left, we have the posts. So posts is highlighted in yellow here. And what we're seeing is an example from before, a team member from the service delivery team posting a conference that they've gone to. On the right-hand side, we've got an event-specific screen, so showing events specific to this service delivery team and only for them. Now, I'm sure what you're thinking is privacy in terms of these, so to encourage transparency, we're hoping we shouldn't need too much privacy in terms of private groups. However, it's likely you'll need a private group every now and again, but admin would have access to these different groups, and that would come under a privacy policy, most likely separate to our information policy. The screen filters for events and photos, posts, and whatever else we like, really. We would have a respond option down the bottom here for events, and that would integrate with our Microsoft Office, or email platform, just so that calendar invite goes back into the main email calendar that the team member would be using. And the purpose of having photos, filtering for photos, is just a way for visual sharing and, again, to increase those personal relationships. Again, part of the Connect is, as I mentioned before, the Connect is that chat option. So again, based off similar social networking messaging apps, you have an individual on the left here writing a message, you've responded on the right, your team members responded on the left, and you're in the middle of writing a new message to them with the option to send there. This visual layout is very standard, just again for that learning curve. Throughout the rest of this presentation, you'll see the Connect option quite frequent throughout. And the purpose of that is just to encourage team members to connect and to make that connecting easy. So there are no real big obstacles in getting to know a colleague. It's just the click of a button. You may think by having a connect and chat option and all of this information available on the team member's own hand device, which is the intention, of course, may question the quality of life. A clear policy and procedure would be put in place to encourage team members not to use this app outside of work hours. We would encourage team members, should they wish to interact outside of work, then perhaps a more traditional social media platform is more relevant to them. Now, because we work mainly from, in our team at least, from their own bring your own devices, being Android phones and iPhones, we're looking at a Connect app that works on all devices. Outside of this social media platform, we're now pivoting to the collaborate side of things, so our project management tool to allow team members to collaborate. So this first screen you see here is a fairly common and logical design, just easy for use and training, and centered around that communication and relationship. So what we see here is ongoing projects for an individual. You've got housing project, project 2, project 3, project 4, and that can have as many projects that are currently open as you need, with the options down below to select closed projects. Now, what we're looking at here is you've gone into a specific project. So we've already selected housing project, and now we're in that project home screen. Down the bottom on this left-hand image, you see a bit of a description of this project and what's going on. Now, that's editable at any point in time just to keep the information in that screen current. There's nothing worse than collaborating where no one has any up-to-date information. Here you've got different options. So you've got newsfeed, and on the right-hand side would be similar to how our newsfeed would look. We've got a to-do list, which we'll get into just a moment. Connect again. So this would be where you can connect specifically to other team members within this group. And a log, which we'll discuss more. So the newsfeed on the right-hand side would be the same, but also have added features. So anytime an achievement is met, so a to-do list item is completed or a to-do list group of items is completed, then that would also go into the newsfeed. And that just gives the team the ability to positively reinforce each other and provide that feedback loop for team members. Next is the to-do list groups. So in order to increase efficiency and make information easier to access, there's the option to group the to-do items. So one core milestone may be to assess the problem. The next milestone might be to create a policy. The third milestone might be implementation. And you can have as many different groups or milestones as you'd like. Next is a more specific to-do list. So we've gone into the assess problem, and now we're looking at all the different action items that need to be completed. As you select on an action item, so we've selected review survey, it's been assigned to an individual, and then there's a description as to what this to-do list is about. There's also a discussion button, so people can ask questions directly about this to-do item or anything they like specific to this item, and that discussion would stay specifically within that review survey. And should you select to read survey or highlight problems or review question format, the same format would be seen right there with a assigned to somebody text description, which can be edited at any time, and a discussion option. Looking next is a change log. So outside of that newsfeed that reinforces and encourages people to congratulate each other is our change log. So in order to encourage transparency, we've got a change log that shows any changes that occurs at any point in time. And like I said, that's for transparency reasons. So at any time, if you change who's responsible for a to-do action or you complete an action, people can check that you've actually done those things or who's done them in case there's an issue. And again, that's just all about accountability and transparency. Next is a video chat option. To make connecting easier, and again, because people work through different offices, it can be easy to lose touch with each other or just go straight to a chat. This would be a video chat option that has video, speech, and text with the ability to conference call. So what we see in this screen is, the person on this phone is chatting with 3 other individuals, somebody's audio is not working, and they've sent a message. Basically, think Skype, think Facebook chat, think all of these different chat items, and we'll be looking at a similar way of outlining that. Lastly, we're looking at integration. So to make this application easier to use, we would like to integrate with Microsoft Word or a research library option, just so that people have everything at their fingertips without having to enter multiple applications or multiple tabs on their phone to access information. That's an overview of Connect. I hope you see the value that this would provide to mangrove housing, and I look forward to discussing it with you further. Thanks for listening.